Facial recognition technology and its use is back in the news. Hello, I'm Dominic Walker. Welcome to JMW's Inside Man YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel. So David Smith is a partner within JMW's London office and is a specialist in data protection law. So David, you and I have spoken before about retail businesses using facial recognition technology. This time it's Fraser Group, and some MPs and pressure groups are not happy about it at the moment as well. So what exactly has happened?
So Fraser Group, which now owns House of Fraser and Flannels and is an outgrowth of the Sports Direct company group, has been written to by MPs and had a bit of noise made about it, about its own use of facial recognition technology, which is not similar to something we talked about previously in relation to cooperative stores. Co-op had limited it to a limited number of stores where they said they had antisocial behavior. Fraser Group are less clear why they're using this technology, but appear to be saying it's also to do with basically identifying people they suspect of causing theft and other problems in their stores, and appear to be looking to use it across the whole range. I mean, the difficulty is, one, this technology is imperfect. It identifies people who potentially are completely innocent, and then the second problem is it's not clear what grouping, how you're identifying these people, because that obviously means that you are collecting personal information about a group of people that you suspect of being criminals, whether they are in fact criminals, as in they've been to court and been prosecuted for an offence, or not. And then obviously that data is being maintained for an indeterminate period. Normally, for example, if I'm prosecuted an offence, if it's a relatively minor offence, society expects that I will be rehabilitated after a period of time and can carry on. It's unclear whether Fraser Group's taking the same view, and also, of course, if I'm prosecuted for offence but found not guilty, then I would not be held. My data could not be continued to be held, and the police, in fact, have to remove it as well now. And again, it's not clear whether Fraser Group are taking any real, making any real efforts to investigate this issue or not, or whether they're just carrying on. So I think there are quite a few questions to be answered, and I rather suspect that the Information Commissioner might be writing to them shortly to ask them to explain what their proposals are.
And obviously these MPs are upset about it. I know that a number of different groups like Big Brother Watch are upset about it as well. You've highlighted some problems. Guess the obvious next question is, can retail outlets or any business use this type of technology?
Yes, I think they can, and it's inevitable, I think, that more people will try to use it. The technology is out there. You can't hide it away. I think the question is what are they allowed to use it for, and in what context? There probably are contexts in which facial recognition technology is, I mean, the police are using it, for example, and they're no less bound by the law than anybody else. But I think there are probably contexts where it is usable, and Fraser Group and Co-op's uses may well fall within those contexts, but with sufficient safeguards and limitations. I don't think that it's likely to be the case that a large store group could simply run a facial recognition system nationally to identify a group of people that they weren't going to allow into any of their stores. And that would be quite high risk. But I think you could do it on a more localized basis for periods of time, preferably with people who had been independently, i.e. by the courts, verified as being criminals, for example. But it would have to be done with some care. I mean, what you certainly couldn't do is what you see, and I've seen in a couple of Hollywood movies, where it's being used to target people with targeted advertising as they walk the streets, for example. That would be an extremely severe use of facial recognition technology, which I think at the moment is unlikely to be acceptable. But inevitably, I suspect someone's going to try and push the bounds, for example, of trying to identify who comes into their stores and whether or not they can use that technology. And to some extent, you could argue that's not a huge increase over what happens now. If I walk into my shop with a mobile phone, a lot of systems will try to garner information off my mobile phone, usually by getting me to set up to a free Wi-Fi system. But of course, I chose to do that. and in doing so, I was warned that this would be used to find out about me for marketing purposes. Whereas, obviously, I can't choose not to involve myself in a facial recognition system. I suppose I can by wearing an unusual hat or a face veil, but those perhaps are the situations in which people might find themselves going.
And I know that you advise a number of businesses around data protection issues. How can you and the data protection team at JMW help businesses?
Well, it's a complex and evolving area, and we spend a lot of time just keeping up with decisions of the ICO and what they're saying. So we can certainly advise people as to what is and is not likely to be a reasonable use and help them to put together a justified position. Bear in mind that the ICO is increasingly a fairly pragmatic regulator, and it won't just go around telling people they can't do stuff unless their use is completely off the reservation. And provided you've come up with a justification and a reasonable scope for your use, then it's likely to be considered carefully by the ICO, even if at some point they say, well, we want to see some changes.
David, thank you very much for your insight. And if you'd like to speak to David, you can email insideman@jmw.co.uk or call 0161 82 81 999. Please also subscribe to the JMW Inside Man YouTube channel for the latest legal news, hints and tips. I'm Dominic Walker, JMW's Inside Man.